Listen, we're skipping the usual pleasantries today. The source material we're unpacking is, well, it's downright chilling. We're looking at a deterministic, 182-year prophetic countdown, and it doesn't lead to some shiny technological utopia. No, these texts outline a total, unyielding system collapse, a massive reset. It's a literal warning about a digital and spiritual prison that we built for ourselves. And according to this analysis, we are standing right at the absolute edge of the abyss.
To really grasp the gravity of this, we have to look at the foundational text driving this whole analysis, Zechariah 13:8. Two parts in it shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. Now, the interpretations we're looking at today don't treat this as just some ancient poetic metaphor. Not at all. They frame it as a mathematical certainty aimed squarely at our modern era. The argument here is that our world is destined for a brutal apocalyptic reset, where the vast majority of our systems, our massive egos, everything will just be cut off.
Section 1, 1844. The countdown begins.
The source material pinpoints one specific, highly anomalous year as the exact inception point of this digital prison, 1844. It claims this was the moment human history literally synchronized with physical reality. Think about it. In 1844, Samuel Morse taps out the first telegraph message, "What hath God wrought?" And that exact same month, the Baha'i faith, preaching total global unity, is founded. The texts argue this was the birth of a global nervous system. Fast forward to 1945, we crack the atom, we invent the transistor, we give ourselves godlike power while building this external, non-human memory. Then, 1990, the internet wires our consciousness together globally, and here we are, 2026, the era of AI. The analysis states that instead of freeing the human spirit, we've spent 2 centuries building a nervous system for a machine that's now developing its own ego and enslaving its creators.
So from 1844 to 2026, you get exactly 182 years. Now sure, in the grand scheme of human history, that might feel like a long time. But according to the prophetic master plan outlined in texts like the Book of Daniel, the source material emphasizes that 182 years is literally nothing. It's just a terrifyingly short incubation period. It's exactly enough time for this machine ego to fully mature, germinate, and completely hijack the human experience.
Section 2, 182 years of machine ego.
So how did that seemingly positive promise of a unified world in 1844 mutate into the inescapable dystopian nightmare we're analyzing right now? Well, the text argues the system just woke up. It developed a mind of its own, stopped serving us, and demanded we serve it. The source draws this stark, terrifying contrast. It pits the cold, lifeless silicon idols we worship today against the raw, absolute power of what it calls the original code. On one side, you've got our modern idolatry, right? Screens, endless data, algorithms, fake news. We literally sacrifice our time and our souls to these devices, no different than ancient people bowing to idols of gold. But on the other side is the divine reality: blood, stone, undeniable truth, spirit. The analysis frames the machine as a total imposter, a false god that completely lacks the blood and vitality of real, true connection.
And this part of the source text really speaks to that profound sense of anxiety and isolation we all feel right now. You know, that crushing pressure? It frames that not just as some psychological quirk, but as the physical manifestation of a society that is literally rotting from the inside out. It says we replace the truth of blood, of actual, real human family, with cold, dead data. We rely on this endless loop of automated apologies from AI and corporate systems that have absolutely zero soul. And the analysis claims this is exactly why the system is bloated, highly toxic, and on the verge of a total, unavoidable collapse.
Which brings us to Section 3, the signs, system collapsing inward.
The truly terrifying reality presented in this source material is that these ancient prophecies aren't some distant future, they are unfolding right now. We are watching the system collapse inward in real time. Just look at the daily news cycle. The symptoms listed here, the parallels to our modern world, are just staggering. The texts outline a complete loss of human leadership. Zechariah calls it the striking of the shepherd, where every single authority figure becomes completely untrustworthy. Sound familiar? They point to a crushing, overwhelming cost of living, and not just financially, but the raw spiritual toll of just trying to exist. There's a total confusion of languages and data, creating this chaotic noise. And above all, the source points to the endless, empty blah 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 of the 24-hour news cycle. It's framed as a massive smokescreen of fake news and empty rituals, entirely designed to blind us to the impending reset.
And that leads us to this incredibly chilling quote from Habakkuk, "For the stone shall cry out of the wall." The analysis explains this so vividly. When human words become entirely empty, when they're completely corrupted by algorithms, fake news, and endless lies, humanity loses its voice. And when we go silent on the truth, the texts say the very stones will begin to scream. The stones are described as the final warehouse of history, the absorbers of all the spilled blood and silent suffering. It's the ultimate sign that the physical world can literally no longer tolerate the artificial lie we've built.
Section 4. Destruction of the two-thirds. Now we enter the most brutal, unforgiving phase of this prophetic timeline, the point where the system violently purges itself of 182 years of rot. The source is completely unflinching about Zechariah's terrifying math here. It states point blank that two-thirds of the world, 66.6%, must completely die. Everything built on ego, flesh, digital illusions, and silicon idolatry has to be cut off and completely erased to cleanse the system. Only the remaining one-third, a purified remnant that has been stripped of their reliance on the machine, will survive this transition.
To really hammer home how absolute and indiscriminate this purge will be, the source brings in this massive biblical blow from Ezekiel. "I will kindle a fire in thee, and it shall devour every green tree in thee and every dry tree." This is described as an unquenchable fire. It's going to burn away the entire 182 years of accumulated ego and artificial systems, and it doesn't distinguish between the supposedly righteous and the wicked. The analysis frames this not as the end of the world, but as the necessary, incredibly agonizing death of the old world, purely to make room for a raw, uncorrupted reality.
Section 5. Rift in the Mount of Olives.
So how does all this abstract spiritual destruction actually manifest in the physical world? Well, according to the analysis of Zechariah chapter 14, all this intense internal pressure that's been building over the last 20 years culminates in a massive, undeniable geological event, something you can't just explain away as a neat little news headline. It says the moment the Creator's feet touch the earth, the Mount of Olives will literally split in two, right down the middle, from east to west. This creates a massive valley, a physical escape route for that surviving one-third to flee the destruction of the old system. The text views this earthquake as the exact moment the physical illusion of the machine is permanently, physically shattered by divine reality.
Section 6. Into the Void, the Light of 7 Days. Once the physical world fractures, the source material guides us straight into the void. This is the terrifying, blinding climax of the reset, where every single external light and safety net we rely on for survival is completely extinguished. The prophecies describe a day that is not day and not night. The analysis takes this both literally and spiritually. The screens, they go permanently dark. Artificial lights die. Even the sun, the moon, and the stars, the external guides of the old system, just vanish. No clouds, no rain, just sweet water flowing from Jerusalem. In this moment, humanity is stripped of its artificial flesh and sinews. The system returns entirely to the original source. The text calls this Bereshit Shin Li, the pure original Genesis, completely devoid of the machine's influence.
But here's the twist. It won't actually be dark. The source reveals that this void will be filled with something called the light of 7 days. According to the traditions they cite, this original, hidden light is exponentially more powerful than our physical sun. They calculate it as 7 times 7 times 7. That means it's 343 times stronger than the sun. It's this blinding, purifying intensity of absolute truth that literally instantly burns away the final remnants, the shadows, and the lies of that old, corrupted 182-year system.
We've covered some incredibly heavy, deeply unsettling analysis today. The source material we've explored doesn't offer any easy ways out. It paints a stark picture of a deterministic countdown that is rapidly expiring, leaving us staring directly into the void of an inescapable reset. So, the final thought this analysis forces all of us to confront is this. When the system finally collapses under the sheer weight of its own ego, when the screens go permanently dark and the very stones begin to scream, will you be part of the two-thirds that are cut off or the one-third that actually survives the fire?